We're going to get started with our budget meeting. Thank you guys once again for coming out for your community grants. We really appreciate you and we're looking for good things from you. But in about 3 minutes, we're going to start our budget meeting so that we can go ahead and get that out of the way for this evening. 1, 59, 58. Hey, that's what I'm talking about. Oh, all right. So,
Hey Santino, can you put that microphone over there?
all right. We got 3 minutes. Start.
It's going. You get out of this week.
I don't think I have to, but yes.
Good afternoon. We will start the budget, city council budget workshop. It is August the 18th, 2025. The time is 6:05. Madam Clerk?
Mayor Douglas Lawson, Chairperson Shirley Lanier, Chair Pro Tem Kashamba Miller Anderson,
Present.
Councilperson Bruce Guyton,
Here.
Councilperson Glenn Spiritus, Councilperson Priscilla Davis Penier, City Manager Jonathan Evans,
Present.
Acting City Clerk Deborah Hall is present, City Attorney Don Nguyen. Madam Chair, you have a quorum, you may proceed.
We will have the moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilwoman Kashama Miller Anderson.
Chairperson Lanier, for the record, I would like to note that Mayor Douglas Lawson is present.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will get started with our city council budget workshop. But before we get started, I need to take a poll of my colleagues in regards to our time for this. My understanding is that there's 8 hours associated with these workshops. 8 hours. But not tonight, I'm just saying, just in general. And we're gonna do 2.5 tonight, which is from 6 to 8:30 as a full stop tonight. Now we can have tomorrow night and we can have Saturday morning. How do you want to work this? Do we gonna do that?
What? Did you say Saturday morning?
How do you want to do this? Because we have 8 hours that we have to get.
Well, I have a question.
Yes.
Why are we having them all together? Why are we having 4 in 1 week, and I don't know how many more we have to have?
We as a board can dictate how that works.
I know that's my point.
Yeah, that's how we can do it.
But I'm like 4 meetings in 1 week.
Yeah.
That's a bit much.
Okay, so what we can do is, Mr. Evans, because we have 8 hours associated with this, and now we also have to have first and second reading. So could you provide us some dates so that we can make sure that we get these 8 hours in for this?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Staff has been told brevity, so we can move through the presentations fairly quickly. Today is roughly about 34 slides. Tomorrow is the capital intense part of that, and then we can look to have more subsequent conversations as part of your first reading, if necessary, as part of the budget. And then we also have till your second and final reading at the 17th. So we can put out some additional time if the board so inclines, but we are going to focus more specifically on some of the financial, key policy, and infrastructure related items. We're not getting into department goals and objectives as we've done in the past. That's more of an administrative function. So we really narrowed the focus down to meat and potatoes. So I don't think the 8 hours would probably be needed.
Okay, so what we'll do tonight is we'll do the 8:30 stop. Tomorrow it's just capital budgets tomorrow for the capital projects. And I'm saying this because this is the first time that we've ever had this much on the table anyway in regards to money and budget and how we're going to look at our funding for the upcoming year. So I'm good with that. And if we could work this out in regards to having it before or after the second reading, that could work as well.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
I think the city manager said that the department budgets are more of administrative function. Is that how I understood you?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
The goals and objectives, the goals and objectives of the departments, where the narrative, where the departments write up what they intend to accomplish with the funding provided by the board.
So will the actual department budgets come before us to review?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
The department budgets in its entirety was presented as part of the email that I shared with you all on July 31st. It has all the department budgets. Department directors are present in case there's specific information, but we're not presenting in each of the departments because there was little to no deviation in the actual budgets for the departments because of the budget deficit that we found ourselves in this fiscal year.
Okay. I do have a couple of questions, not right now, Madam Chair, about specific budgets. So whenever
Okay.
when you think it's appropriate that I can.
We can go through this, that we have presented before us, and then we can get at the end to the questions in regard to specific department budgets.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, very good.
Like, Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
so if people want to make notes on the slides and then we can come back afterwards,
Yes, we can do that.
and that way they get through the whole presentation?
Yes, yes, ma'am. All right, very good. So we'll start out with whom, Mr. Evans?
Madam Chair, just going to do a brief overview, and I emphasis on brief. Mr. Sherman, if you can join me up at the front so we can get into the specificities concerning the budget. Madam Chair, members of the board, before you this evening is the proposed fiscal year 2026 budget that has a millage rate of 8.35 mils, which is consistent with the FY 2025 budget. We did see an increase in property tax value of approximately 8.14%, and we did see the taxable value in our community grow to $9.5 billion. As it relates to ad valorem revenue, it generated $75 million in ad valorem revenue. That's property tax revenue, and then which is $69.8 million was furnished to the city once you minus what is provided for in debt transfers and actual contributions to the CRA. The city of Riviera Beach contribution to the CRA was roughly about 9.4 million. With the economic development growth happening in our community, we're seeing more of the growth that's targeted within the community redevelopment agencies, and we're not seeing some of the growth that we have once experienced outside of the CRA. We have $1.3 million that, pursuant to a provision that's called for in the charter, that goes to the Major Disaster Fund, and that roughly takes about $1.3 million off of our ad valorem revenue. And this was put in place prior to the city of Riviera Beach having a strong fund balance. We have $4.25 million, which is pay-as-you-go capital, and we utilize pay-as-you-go capital for those one-time infrastructure-related investments, more specifically associated with items such as milling and resurfacing or any projects that we may have. And so we have a lot of growth that is happening, as stated, a lot of economic redevelopment opportunities that are happening within the Broadway corridor. And you'll hear more specifics associated with some of those projects and initiatives as part of the capital projects presentation. And with that, Madam Chair, I'm going to turn the presentation over to the Chief Financial Officer to get into the specificities of the slide that are being presented. Mr. Sherman?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Again, for the record, Randy Sherman, City Chief Financial Officer. And again, if you want to stop and ask questions along the way, that's fine. If you want to hold the questions to the end, that's okay as well. And again, maybe a slide will answer your question before you get an opportunity to ask. Again, tonight, August 18th, Mr. Evans has given his presentation. I'm going to give, again, a background of the city's finances, a little bit of bragging in some of the numbers that we have. I think we're in pretty good stead. And then we will get to the tentative budgets, and then we will wrap up tonight with the enterprise fund budgets. And then you see tomorrow night will be really all capital discussion. So again, as Mr. Evans said, our property tax values, the blue lines represent our assessed values. Okay, the scale for the blue line is on the left axis. So you can see that we have actually now exceeded $9 billion in assessed valuation. The yellow lines represent our millage rate. And again, as you can see, back in fiscal 2023, we actually dropped the millage rate from 8.4 to 8.35. And again, the scale for that is on the right axis. Again, this did generate additional revenue this year as you set your maximum millage rate to the 8.35. Won't spend a lot of time on this, but I just want for the record everyone to know that the city did adopt the additional senior exemption. So if you're eligible, please file for it. It is up to a $50,000 exemption. Couple caveats: your property has to be worth less than $250,000, and your income level has to be below $37,694. And then obviously you have to meet the age requirement, which is 65 or older. Just a quick background on our calculations for property tax. So we get our property tax or our assessed value information from the Palm Beach County property appraiser. If you look across the last line and go across those numbers, 9.5 billion. That is our gross number for property taxes for assessed valuation. You can see the next line doesn't calculate into the calculation, but they do provide new construction. So our new construction was $122 million. I will tell you 80 of that was within the CRA. So 2/3 of your new construction occur within the CRA, which means those dollars go to the CRA and not to the city. We then take that to our millage rate, and we're actually generating this year $75.4 million of property taxes. As Mr. Evans said, if you work down the sheet from that number, 1.5% of that goes to the disaster fund. That fund right now has about $7 million in it. And then we come down the bottom and we actually calculate how much of that goes to the CRA. So within our budget, we're budgeting the 75.4. We transfer the $1.1 million on day one over to the major disaster fund. And then, as Mr. Evans said, if you look on the top right, $9.4 million will be transferred to the CRA on January 1st. Just as a little point of discussion here, there has been some discussion up in Tallahassee. There's a debate going on about property tax reform. So I did pull out just a few points that they are looking at. They're looking to provide tax relief. Okay, they got the dichotomy of trying to promote new businesses and bring in residents. But the property taxes, as you know, can be an issue with that. A few points of discussion from what I can see up Tallahassee. There was a proposal for a $1,000 statewide property tax rebate. That $1,000 would have come from the state. They felt that they had the funds to do that, but I will tell you that that is a $5 billion number that the state would have to come up with to provide every homesteaded property with a $1,000 rebate. They are looking at increasing the homestead exemptions, and if you remember, that was actually on the ballot, I think it was last year, and failed, but that would have to be a ballot initiative. They're also looking at or discussing the possibility of abolishing or capping property taxes altogether. So again, right now we are capped with our millage rate. We are not capped with how much we can actually assess on a property. So I think what they're looking at is once somebody gets to a certain level of property taxes, doesn't matter what the value of the property is, they would be capped. And then the alternative item they discussed was actually reducing sales tax. If I can't give you the money back through property taxes, perhaps we can give you the residents a reduction in the sales tax. The real challenges that they talked about they have is really the disparity in the housing prices. $1,000 is not on one property is not necessarily the same as $1,000 on another property. And then we get down to more of the local concern is, well, that's all well and good if you want to do property tax reform or you want to reduce the sales tax, but those are revenues to the local government. And now how is local government going to end up funding? So again, this went nowhere in this past legislative session, but I think they've all promised that they'll be bringing it back next year. As far as our tax bill goes, this is again the scenario that we give you every year. For 2025, okay, we take a $250,000 property. We take back the homestead exemption of $50,000. So then the net property assessed value is $200,000. You can see the millage rate in the left-hand column of the numbers, the 8.35 of the city. But, you know, think about all your other sections that you pay in your property tax bill. So you're paying the county, you're paying the school district, you're paying for a fine, you're paying for debt for the county. All of these items add up to your actual property tax bill. If you look over to the right-hand side, only 39% of your property tax bill is coming to the city. Okay, so when we hear that we need property tax reform, remember we really are a fairly small component of the overall property tax bill. This is one of our first bragging points. I always like to tell you where you are is in comparison to the other municipalities in South Florida. These are all of the AA rated communities in South Florida. I highlighted Riviera Beach. We not only have one AA rating, we have two AA ratings. And we used to be the only community in Palm Beach County with two AA ratings. But West Palm Beach has taken, or at least matched that. They now have two AA ratings as well. But again, you can see how you match up and what the other communities are that you're in essence in comparison to, in the eyes at least of the rating agencies. I also like to point out the general fund reserves that we have. That red line there is the city's number, that is 39.5%. So that means 39.5% of our revenues from the prior year, so that's 24. Okay, we have that in our reserve account. Okay, this reserve account is here for the day that all of your revenues stop coming in due to some type of storm, some type of event. This is really, your savings account. Yes, we have the major disaster fund, but we have deductibles that have to come once we get hit. We still have insurance that we have to worry about, and you're still going to want to pay your employees. So that's really what this reserve is. So you can see that there are those 7 communities that are far larger and have additional funds, and then if you look off to the left side, those are the ones that we are ahead of at this point. And again, you have to keep in mind this is a percentage of your budget. So while we may be at 39.5% and West Palm Beach is at 31.4%, they have a far larger budget, so they may have as much cash as we have, but the percentage-wise, it may be a little less. The other item I like to always point out is exactly how many days cash we do have on hand. Now, this is a one-day snapshot of how much cash that we're actually holding. So as of September 30th, okay, we had 155 days worth of cash. So if no other revenue came in for 5 months, we would be able to pay our bills. I will tell you though, by the time we actually get to November, when our property taxes start coming in, that is actually less than 50 days cash because we pay all of our pension costs up front, we pay all of our debt service costs up front. So we have a lot of payments that actually leave the city in the month of October. And I want to say last year that was actually at 142 days. So we actually improved 24 over 23. For discussion purposes only, I do want to bring this up since we're talking about property tax bills. We have looked at for several years at this point about actually taking some of the non-ad valorem revenues off of our utility bill and putting them onto our property tax bill. So when you get your property tax bill, you have an assessment on there from the Solid Waste Authority. That is a non-ad valorem assessment that the Solid Waste Authority has put on your property tax bill. Okay, if you actually look at our ordinances and our statutes, solid waste, stormwater, and I know we don't have it, Mayor, but the fire assessment fee are all property-based assessments. They are not individual assessments, okay? So your water bill, your sewer bill go with the occupant. The solid waste, the stormwater, the fire assessment go with the property, okay? So taking these off the utility bill and putting them on the property tax bill is very common in South Florida. And if you choose for an enhanced presentation, as we'll show you all of the other communities and what they have done. I will point out, we do see that there are some significant benefits to doing this. We understand, that there's probably some negatives that go along with it as well. But by putting it on your property tax bill, as you know, if you pay your tax bill early, you can get a discount. So that discount would be passed along on these fees as well. Your deposit requirement, okay, we charge 3 months of your utility bill is your deposit. So if you take these off of the utility bill, the deposit to get in the door and get your account open would be reduced. You'd see reduced banking fees for the customers. You'd have hopefully fewer turn-offs and turn-ons because now your monthly bill would actually be less, which then would eliminate some late fees. And then again, there'd be some reduced costs on the city side because we're not doing 12,000 work orders a year doing all these turn-ons and turn-offs. On the city side, again, our banking fees would go down. Again, we could reduce our workload and work orders through the turn-on and turn-offs. We would also have less costs associated with the program. And we'd have reduced delinquencies. One of the beauties of putting it on the property tax bills is ultimately we would collect 100%. Right now, we're collecting about 93%. So again, that 7% that we're not collecting has got to be made up by everybody else. Putting it on the property tax bills, it may take time as you go through the tax lien and tax deed process, but you would collect 100%. So getting into the actual budgets.
Madam Chair,
Yep.
Yes, go ahead.
are we waiting till the end or we're asking questions on each section?
You can make it, wait, go ahead, make it now.
Thank you.
Either.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Or Mr. Evans, have we put together, I know we talked about a marketing strategy and campaign structure for the senior exemption. Do we have a defined number of homes of how many homestead exemption residents we have in Riviera Beach right now? I think it's like 200 something, but
228.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
With regards to the exemption, we can certainly put together what is a communication piece associated with that.
I want to push out the additional senior exemption, especially for residents that may not know about it, just to do some marketing to them, to let them know about the additional exemption that was passed. And I also want to get the information to see how many people are taking advantage of that exemption already.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
We can certainly do that. And Mr. Chairman, I don't know, was there notification that was provided as part of the trim when we did adopt the exemption?
Yeah, the first year when it was adopted, we did put it out in the water bill to inform everybody, but it really comes from the county. The county runs that program. So they know who has been eligible within the county. So they know our taxpayers are that now can get that exemption on the city side as well. I don't have the updated numbers from the county, but we were looking at about 6,800 properties that are homesteaded, and 228 were eligible for the senior exemption. That's how many we're getting it from the county.
228 are eligible.
228 are
228?
receiving it from the county, so they'd be eligible here.
So they would be eligible.
Yeah.
So have they taken advantage of that exemption?
The county actually sees that they do. They follow up with them, and they, so when they apply at the county level, they also give them the city one as well.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so, Mr. Mr. Sherman, you said you send it out with the water bill, but on Singer Island, many of the buildings, the water bill is paid for through their maintenance, so they don't get a water bill, the owner of the property. So if we can maybe do, as the mayor said, a little bit better job of getting the word out. Not everybody on Singer Island lives in a $5 million condo.
We can
Thank
do
you.
that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's it for now.
All right, very good. Mr. Sherman?
So as the manager said, we really didn't have that many significant changes from year to year with the budget. When we came up with our revenue projections of roughly $120 million, we had over $130 million worth of requests from the departments. So there was some paring back on those requests. And again, not necessarily a lot of money left over for new programs. So running down this sheet real quick, again, the millage rate is remaining the same at the 8.35. We have added 9 new firefighters that are stipulated in the IAFF contract, and we will talk about that in more detail on a few slides down. There are salary increases included in the budget for all of the unions that have settled and for those that have not yet settled. There are dollars in. We did budget 3% for non-affiliated employees. The last council meeting, I believe you passed the health insurance contract at a 4.9% increase. That is fully funded. The general insurance fund did see an increase. We had been carrying some reimbursements on the books that when we changed insurance advisors, told us that we needed to take those off the books. They were highly unlikely to come in. And then we added the 2 new fire stations. So our general liability insurance has increased. We did fund the Singer Island Dune Restoration Program at the $1 million level, the READ program at the $250,000 level. Community events, we increased to $500,000 this year. That was where the really larger spend was. We put in $100,000 for holiday decorations. As the manager mentioned, we have $4.25 million to transfer from to the capital pay-as-you-go account. The TIF payment to the CRA is $9.4 million. And I will tell you that the state has not yet provided revenue estimates for the communication tax or the fuel tax revenue. It says that the numbers will be available in August, but they, as of today, they still were not posted. So that may, if they come in before the public hearing, may be a point of discussion on September 3rd that there may be an adjustment one way or the other.
Madam Chair?
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Significant factors, I'm sure we'll get to it, but the communications department, did we have any significant dollars put into that department at all?
All of the staff that they have is budget, and the budget is within the city manager's budget. We didn't break it out this year.
Okay, so the funding that's going into marketing communications is just gonna be based on the salary?
No, we did receive a budget from them, but those dollars have been included in the city manager's budget.
Okay, so when we get to city manager,
That's a
we'll address,
division.
we'll address that. Thank you.
Sorry. Okay, so the first column, these are your 2026. This is general fund. These are the proposed revenues that we have coming in. The middle column, the first column of numbers, that is the 2025 adopted budget. Second column over is the 26 tentative budget, and then the column on the right is the change. So as I mentioned, if you look at that middle column of numbers there, bottom line, we are at $120.5 million of revenues. Property taxes are 75.9, which is up 5.6 million. But again, remember, almost over $1 million of that goes to the CRA. For the most part, I will tell you that the non-ad valorem taxes were relatively flat. The numbers that we got from the state, which is the revenue sharing and the sales tax, flat, nothing, no increase in there. So that has what's made it a little bit difficult here. What is in the charges for services and license and permits, that includes your building fund. Okay, so we know what the projects are that should be coming in next year with their building permits. With the charges for services, that is, again, what we charge. A lot of that is internal. Some of it is parks and recs. Some of that is the fees that we charge to Palm Beach Shores. Okay, so Palm Beach Shores at this point is actually over $900,000 payment that they're making for EMS services. The largest increase that you see up there is actually on the investment earnings, where the rates are, even anticipating potential rate cuts. We will easily exceed that $1.7 million this year that we're budgeting for next year. Point out the transfers in from other funds. Again, that is coming from those funds that pay for city services. Okay, so IT runs as its own fund. IT then pays the general fund for services that the general fund provides IT. Fleet gets treated that way, and the insurance fund as well.
Let's, Mr. Sharma, let's go back up to intergovernmental. What does that include?
Which one?
Intergovernmental.
Those are our administrative fees. So that really is coming from your enterprise funds. Okay, so again, just like IT and the others, those are the fees that like USD pays for all the administrative stuff. The marina gets charged for those items as well. So that covers finance, HR, city attorney, city administration. The marina is higher than most because, again, the field crew and the billing is all in the finance department, so they're reimbursing for those costs. But that's really coming all internal.
Okay.
I did want to point out, we talked about this last year. One of your significant expenses is your pension costs. So I did want to point out the city-sponsored pension plans. All three of these plans are closed to new participants. Okay. In 2015, we closed the general employees plan. We closed the firefighters plan. That was at the same time we created the FRS, and then the elected officials then started receiving a pension through the FRS. The police department lagged a few extra years. They didn't close until 2020. But the point of this slide up here, if you look at the first two columns, that is your 26 contribution as a percentage of payroll. So for general employees, it's 22.64%. Last year, it was 21.73%. Firefighters actually went down. This year, it's 35.79%. Last year, it was 40.07%. But the one that is concerning and is having an impact on your budget is the police department. They've gone up to 39.16%, where last year they were at 28.45%. So if you go over to the last two columns.
So why is that?
I'm sorry?
So why is that? Why do we have 28 last year and 39 this year?
So part of it is the change of salaries. That obviously is going to impact when you give, salary increases. But then it comes back to your investments and your return on those investments. So the way the plans are designed, and I'll use a rough number. For example, they go through a calculation. They know how much the employees are going to pay, okay, because that's a set percentage. Okay. They then go through what the investments are, and they estimate or they project, their plan is that you're going to earn about 7% return on all your investments. The delta between those two numbers and what you're going to pay out, that's the city's cost. If you don't hit that 7%, the city's contribution goes up.
So does this have anything to do with the whole target thing?
The which thing?
Target.
No,
Wasn't this the
well,
police pension fund that was a part of this?
It could, because Target is one of their investments. So if Target's value goes down, their investments go down. And what this does, it's the last two columns, is it gives you the percentage of your assets as compared to your liability. So for the general employees, we'll go with the second to left column there. You have 122.7% of your liability is sitting in that fund. So you have 22.7% extra in that fund right now. Okay. If you look at the firefighters, they're at 100.8. So they have 0.8, but at least they're level funded. You go down to the police pension, and they're only at 89.4%. So then what the pension plan does, it says, okay, you're short X amount of dollars. They charge the city 7% interest on that. So if they're short,
Say it again.
okay, so they are billing the city for 7% interest on the funds that they don't have in the plan because the plan is underfunded. So that's why that gets to be a very expensive. If you're not at that 100% or better, that's a very expensive thing because you are responsible for giving them the investment earnings that they had planned on earning.
So if the police fund loses money, we pay for it?
The city, by statute, the city makes up the difference, yes.
And that's because of investments?
Part of it's because of investments. And again, part of it may be people don't retire when they thought they were going to retire. People make more money than they had planned. I mean, there's a bunch of factors that go into the calculation, but the investments is a major one.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
And that's applicable for public safety. There's a statutory obligation to make sure your plans stay funded. So the city does have to shore up those plans from time to time. And it takes available cash. And I think when we talked about this last year where we were in negotiations, that we had to contribute, I think it was $500,000 to shore up the police pension program previous year. And that, in essence, took away some of the capital that we had to invest in what would be pay raises and the like. And so that's something that, again, this year, we're going to have to put our contributions in. Mr. Sherman, what's the number dollar-wise that we would have to put in this fiscal year?
This year, it's $750,000.
And that contribution is supposed to occur when?
October 1st.
So is that a part of negotiations?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
We mentioned that as part of negotiations, that funding that we normally would have available is tied up in what we have to make contributions for pension. So we do mention that.
All right. All right, go ahead, Mr. Sherman.
On this slide here, what we do is we take the budget, and you see this totals up to that $120.5 million. Take the budget and try to break the budget down by where the dollars are being spent. What are the spending categories? So the first two lines up there are your personnel costs. It is $44 million for salaries and $18 million for benefits. And if you look over to the right, that's 51% of your operating budget right there in personnel costs. So when you're looking at adding personnel, that's a big item. If you're looking at trying to find a way to reduce your budget, personnel is 51% of your operating budget. Okay, and you're going to see as we go down, there's certain line items that you can reduce, there's certain line items that you cannot reduce. The middle section there is all of your basic operating type expenses. And just looking at the first 3 or 4 of those, as I talked earlier, your general insurance is $6.6 million or 5.5% of the budget. IT is 4.6% of the budget. Fleet is 3.8, 3.1% of your budget. And then contracts that we have are 3.3 at 2.7% of your budget. And again, then you go through, the rest of the line items, as you move through. As you go closer down to the bottom, you see on the left-hand side, we have contingency, the grant and aids, and operating capital. So contingency, we typically carry the $500,000 a year. Okay, that's just in case we need, to move some extra money during the year. The grant and aids, that is the $1 million for dunes. That is the READ program. That is PAL. That is the community benefits. Then you see we only spent $325,000 on capital. Those are, and that's not IT capital, that's department capital. That's not vehicles, because vehicles are over in fleet. This is things within the department, whether it be printers, copiers, and some small equipment. And then the bigger items are down the bottom that we talk about. These are all of your transfers. So as you mentioned, CRA is 9.4 million. You can't change that number. Transfer into debt is 8.9 million. Transfer into the pay-as-you-go is the 4.25 million. And then the transfer to the major disaster fund is the 1.1. So up at the top, we have 50% in salaries and benefits. And down at the bottom, we have 20% of your operating budget is in those 4 lines for the transfers that, again, you can't change. So again, it's really those 2 middle columns that there is some discretion on if you don't want to touch the salaries and benefits.
Ask you a question, Mr. Sullivan. So what happens with, I know we have not seen the CRA budget yet, but I'm asking about that money that the CRA owes the city.
Yes.
Is that a part of this incoming, what do you call it? Incoming, I don't know, operational, what do you call it?
Revenue.
Yeah. So
Revenue, yeah.
Yeah, so let me explain. So that loan to the CRA for the Ocean Mall
Right.
actually came out of your insurance fund. And the agreement that we have with the CRA is they will be paying back $675,000 every year. And yes, they are making that payment.
Okay.
Just real quick, again, this probably doesn't surprise anybody, but here's a breakdown of where the dollars are spent. 46% of the budget actually goes to public safety. 29% goes to your general government. Your internal support, which is fleet, insurance, IT, that's 11%. Public Works gets 7%, and Parks and Library get 7%. Okay, this slide here, on the left-hand side, you have a listing of all your departments and their appropriations. So again, police is at the top. Second at $33.3 million. The second line down is the general admin. That $27.5 million, I have another slide. I will show you all the detail behind that number. But then police and fire. And as we just saw from the prior slides, there's your public safety. That's where, the majority of your spending is. So again, on the left-hand side, you have the departments and you have their appropriations. On the right-hand side, what we do is we start with last year's adopted budget. So that's the $112 million. And then we tell you how much each individual budget has changed from the prior year to the current budget year. So those dollar amounts that you see next to each one of those departments, that's how much additional money they got or are proposed to receive in 2026. So we're adding $8.4 million to the budget for the $120.5 million bottom line.
So the amounts that are listed on this right-hand side, this 8.4, this is additional monies to fire, finance, procurement, library, that way. Is that how it goes?
Correct. Last year, your budget was 112. This year, it's 120. So that's that 8.4.
Okay.
As I just mentioned, the administrative budget, the $27.5 million. This is the breakdown of that. So within that $27.5 million is the $9.4 million that goes to the CRA, the 8.9 that goes to the debt service fund, the 4.2 million goes to the capital fund, the $1.1 million goes to the major disaster fund. That $1.3 million for the community grants and the like, the dunes, the READ program, education program, okay, those are all in this account. Contingencies in this account. The leases for the port center are in this account. And if you actually, I mean, those are the numbers, and then to the right of the numbers from the prior year.
Madam Chair, where is the Youth Council and the Citizen Leadership Academy going to fit in at?
Those I didn't break out MLK either. They're actually all on that bottom operating expense line.
You said where it says other operating expenses?
Yes.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Evans, I see that under special events, it's $500. That's the 500 from the community events that was spoken about earlier, or is that a different 500?
Madam Chair, if I may,
Yes, go ahead.
those are specific for large-scale community events, not the grants that we have provided. This is for the larger events, your signature events, maybe 4 or 5 events. That's what those monies are for.
The 500,000?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we spoke about, well, I mentioned that Lake Park has a monthly event, West Palm Beach has a weekly event, Clematis After Dark. They bring their community together in an environment where there are no controversial issues. People just there kind of enjoying themselves. We don't have anything like that, and I was hoping we can have enough funds that we can start a monthly event, so that we can start bringing our community together in an environment other than on controversial issues.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Councilperson, to that point, we do want to bring something back for your consideration, and we would look to appropriate monies out of the available budget funds for those particular events. But we did want to bring something back for you all to opine and give us your perspective on. So we are looking to do that.
And how soon do you think you would be able to bring something back for our review?
Madam Chair, if I may. We want to look to bring something before probably your first meeting in November is when we want to look to bring something back, if not sooner.
Okay, I want to throw one more thing out. There's a signature event that happens here that we don't participate in. And I would like to take a look at if we participated, could we either enhance it, make it better? And that is the old school event that's been going on for years here. So when you're deliberating over numbers, I would like for you to take a look at that as well. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. And just to piggyback on Councilman Guyton's, there's a few items. We talked about the communications department. I know that, Mr. Evans, you've put that underneath the city manager, but what was the reason or direction for why you wanted communications marketing under city manager as opposed to its own department?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
It is in fact its own department. It's under the purview of the city manager's office, just like youth empowerment, civil drug, as well as some of our other departments. So it is its own department, but for budgeting purposes, it's under city administration. If it's the desire of the board, we can split those out. If it's the board's desire to see them on a more micro scale, we can certainly do that.
I think the two things, I agree, the special events. One of the things that we went away from over the years was doing too many special events in the community. And because we had to focus on infrastructure, we had to focus on some of the facilities and just really kind of sharpen our pen. the partnerships and the relationships that were established and that Councilman Guyton recommended would actually minimize some of the cost that it would take to do this in partnering with some of the organizations like Sunfest, like Live Nation, like the group that did Old School, as he mentioned. These are different ways of how we can actually do those partnerships. So making sure that we really are direct with whatever money we put in special events, because simply the special event for, I'll wait till she's finished. The event that we did for 4th of July, that costs, I would say, half of this budget for one event. So the budget special events for this amount for the entire year doesn't give us the flexibility to do those multiple monthly events in addition to maybe 4 signature events yearly, unless we do those sponsorships. So coming with a creative idea of how to do that.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Also, one of the things I think both the mayor and Councilperson Guyton had mentioned or alluded to in your comments is partnerships are going to be critical, and sponsorships. We're going to have to find other folks to help facilitate it. We as a government can't be the only one to do it. So we also see the monies that are in here as an opportunity to leverage partnerships to help facilitate more activities, because it's a huge undertaking, and we do want to have what it's 4 signature events. But if we can get 8 by leveraging some additional fiscal assets, those are ideas that we want the board's direction on, and see if you're in favor of those types of partnerships where we may say we have $100,000 and we put out a competitive solicitation and say we want 4 events that are going to complement the city's signature special events. Let's see with your proposals, and let's see how we can partner to help facilitate that. So those are some of the ideas we've been having discussions about internally.
Yeah, so I want us to be creative with that. So that's a great recommendation if we can really visit that, to do multiple events, having different organizations come in. Second one was Sister City funds. Where would that fall under? Because I know that we talked about possibly budgeting dollars for the building out the Bahamian delegation Sister City relationship, and then any other potential Sister City relationships.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
That would be under your other operating expenses. That would be incorporate all those types of miscellaneous activities.
So that is going to, and we'll get to that, but you mentioned that youth council is under there, that's going to also be the Sister City, and then Ms. Miller Anderson mentioned another one that was under youth council and leadership. So all of that is going to fall under the 312, which is the other operating. And we'll go through that line item with that as well. And last but not least, I do think that we should pull out that budget for the marketing department, because typically in organizations, especially in the private sector, they spend a substantial amount of dollars in marketing and advertisement. We're going to the bond market. We are attracting development and business and to the city of Riviera Beach. So I really want us to get very clear and concise with the dollars that's going into the marketing department, making sure that our new director has all the resources and assets necessary to advertise the city holistically, pushing it out as much as possible. And just in the 2 weeks he's been here, he's done a phenomenal job. I want us to really get down to pushing the city's brand to the next level. And if we can do that through marketing, advertisement, every solicitation that goes out, I want to make sure that the city's pushing those out and making sure we're advertising those. So I'd want to see a clear vision as to what the communications department budget looks like. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Ms. Evans, is the administration budget, does the legislative budget fall under the administration budget?
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
no, it does not, Councilperson.
I'll address that question later about the legislative budget. That's it, Madam Chair, for me.
Okay, so when we get to, we're talking about special events, but we also had conversations before about housing and a housing department and a housing division or something that is focused on housing for the city. How are we looking at that in terms of budgets? I know it was other developmental services, but then it would be something separate, but I want to know how we're going to work that.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
With regards to the personnel modifications that's presented in this budget, it's contemplated that we would look to shift a position that we currently have in city administration, which is your senior business and economic development position, over to development services. And that particular position would be the owner of what is housing, because you do need some general oversight and administrative activities associated with the MEHOP program. You also have monies that you're anticipated to collect with the partnership with the Lake Worth CRA as it relates to federal funds. And so you really need to have that symbiotic relationship with what is the Development Services Department. So one of the items that is presented in here is that you'll see a modification of that position and moving that position into the Development Services Department. And they would in fact own what is the housing for the city of Riviera Beach.
Got it. Very good. Mr. Sherman?
So we've talked a lot about the general fund. What this slide actually does is shows you all of the budgets combined on one sheet. The 2026 is the set of numbers in the middle. And if you can see, that goes up to $214 million. The numbers on the right of the 2025 budgets at $197.6 million. And we'll go through some of these other budgets as we progress through. But when we publish our budget in the newspaper for our public hearing, these are the budgets that you're going to see. They're all inclusive. It does include the utility district budget as well. But right now we are at $214.6 million.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
Mr. Evans, in the utility district, have we actually secured the funds to build the new water plant?
Madam Chair, if I may. You've established the rates. You haven't gone out to the bond market to get the funds yet.
So we don't have the funds.
Madam Chair, if I may. No, we do not have the funds in hand yet.
When we go out to the market, do we have to wait until 500 or half a billion is purchased? Or how do we move forward after they hit the market?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
if I may defer to the CFO to communicate how the process would be. But also one of the things I did want to communicate, councilperson, is we are looking at WIFIA, which is a federal program, looking at SRF, looking at ways to buy down what the actual rate is to be able to reduce what the actual burden would be on the ratepayers. But Mr. Sherman, if you can articulate the process that the utility district will undertake for receiving the funds.
Sure. So you will probably January or early February, you will actually see the official offering document. Okay, it's going to be about 3/4 of an inch thick. And what that does is we put that out to the market and we say, we're looking for, and I'll just use the $400 million in total. We will tell them where we want to have all of our maturity dates. And that actually goes out nationwide for people to actually bid on certain maturities. Okay, you can bid on all the maturities, or you could, depending if you're the California Teachers Pension Plan, maybe you only want to buy the maturity for 2038, right? So you can bid on each individual maturity. All $400 million goes out at once, okay? And all the bids will come in on a certain date at a certain time. And then, it'll determine what is the actual cheapest. So again, maybe you get all 400 million, or maybe you get just a part of it. What will typically happen is we will get oversubscribed, which means we have more bidders than we actually have dollars. And that's a good thing, because that gives you the ability to actually lower the interest rate. As you lower the interest rate, somebody will obviously drop out. They go, I'm not interested in that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you will have all $400 million. So the way the schedule is right now, we need that GMP. That's really what we're waiting for. We are in the process of putting all of the
GMP, gross national product.
I'm sorry, the guaranteed maximum price for the plant.
Oh, you said GM.
Yes, GM.
Not GM. Okay.
The guaranteed maximum price, because I don't want to borrow 400 million if we only need 260 million, right? And then, as the manager said, as grants become available, as SRF becomes available, we'll be looking at all of those. Back in January, I guess it was February, we increased our impact fees for water and sewer. So again, some of that is already hitting the books. So as we get some of the development on Blue Heron or on Broadway, those impact fees, as the manager said, will further buy down the projects or the amount of financing that's required. So all of those pieces, are being moved around. But
Okay.
I would expect that you will see something in front of you with the official offering document. If we get that guaranteed maximum price in, let's say, October, November, that you should see that in January. Right now, we're planning on a March closing for the bond.
Okay, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, I have a follow-up question.
Okay.
When you say a March closing, does that mean that you anticipate the funds to be available in March of next year?
Yep. They will be wiring $400 million, yes,
In
or
March of
whatever
next
the
year.
sale amount is, yes.
When would, Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
when will we know how it would impact the water bills, especially on seniors?
Okay, so when we did the rate analysis, okay, we had the $400 million in the calculation at the then interest rates. So that was, we approved them in January. So I think the report was dated December. So about 9 months ago, where the interest rates were about 9 months ago. As you know, they haven't fallen. So the interest rates that we're looking at today are pretty close to where we were then. So that is built in to the rate structure
So,
already.
Not to interrupt you, we need to move this
Yep.
meeting forward. When will we know the impact on the water bills? That was my question.
Once you get the bids and you know what the actual interest rates are.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so, City Manager Evans, you mentioned, SRF and WIFIA, and I assume we already put in a couple applications on that, right?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, we are working on with Suzanne Meckler from CDM Smith as it relates to SRF and WIFIA as well. So we are proceeding forward with those.
We're in the process. So now, Mr. Sherman, my question is, if we bond, and we accept the bond, is there a penalty for prepaying the bond?
There's not a penalty for prepaying the bond, but you can use the bond proceeds to pay the bond. So if we over borrow, those monies will then be invested in, we'll just say, a bond debt service fund. So those bonds, any interest on it will be used to pay back those bonds.
Follow-up question, Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
So if we borrow 400 million and we only need 250, can you write the bond where we could use that money for transmission lines as well?
Yeah, we will write the bond documents that it can really be used for any water and sewer program. There are additional projects, and tomorrow night when you get into the CIP, you'll see there's about $60 million of projects that really could be bonded at this point. Again, timing, cash flow, permitting, you know them all. But yeah, there's 60 million out there, right? But yeah, as long as we use the money for a bondable project, we'd be okay.
Great, thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
One of the things we've also talked about is micro bonds to provide for opportunities for residents to be able to participate in the actual funding of some of the capital projects. So that's something that we would want to look to bring forward. And Mr. Sherman, if you can briefly just speak on that as an item for consideration.
Yeah, typically our bonds are sold and marketed in $5,000 increments. If you're doing micro bonds, you sell more bonds, but with a lower value each. So if you're trying to, really get down, you want to make them, maybe you take, just say 25 million of the 400 million, maybe $1,000 bonds rather than $5,000 bonds. And then that allows more of the smaller investors to be able to get into the program. But what we typically do, or at least I typically do, is, again, I mentioned like the California Teachers Pension Plan. Those are the big investors. usually have a pre-order period for smaller investors so that they get an opportunity to get in the market as well. But ultimately, the interest rate bids will be the interest rate bids, but we do try to provide opportunities to the smaller individual investors. And as we get closer, we certainly can tell you who is going to have these bonds to sell. So again, if you market that in of itself, people know who to call if they would be interested in acquiring some of our bonds.
I'm sure. Mr. Chairman, are these triple tax-free bonds?
They are.
Great.
Next section here that we're coming up on is the personnel items.
Sorry,
I'm
wait.
sorry.
One,
Yep.
one last question.
Sure.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. We have property identified for the water plant right on Broadway. And I guess that happened before I got here. I'm sorry, Blue Heron.
Hey, where's that?
Yeah. It's been a long day. My question is, well, first I'll give you my concern, is that we are taking prime property off of our main thoroughfare. We're taking it off the tax rolls to put public buildings, which we don't get any taxes from. Did we explore anywhere else? I mean, we have the fire station, we're talking about the police station, we have City Hall, now we're talking about the water plant. That's prime property. Private investors would pay a lot, and we can put them on our tax roll. So have we explored other places for our water plant?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
So, Councilperson, when we had the conversation about the water plant and the water plant location, we looked at the Avenue L site because that was the site that the city already owned with our Public Works campus. We did acquire the 1.9 acres that fronts Blue Heron some time later on, and then we assemble those parcels and look to move the water treatment plant there. With regards to the water treatment plant, we couldn't move it too much further from where it is being moved to because the cost associated with the additional piping that would need to be able to pipe the system would be astronomical as soon as we moved it further out. Additionally, if we looked at that site, what we wanted to do was to relocate the water treatment plant because that City Hall campus or that campus where the water treatment plant is, that frontage on what is Blue Heron is such a valuable frontage. And so the intent is to see redevelopment occur where the existing water plant is and the frontage that is there on Blue Heron. Thus, the city decided to set back Fire Station 87 and not have it front Blue Heron for the opportunities to some reinvestment on that site. And we thought that that site would be the optimal site because if we did have to build another plant adjacent to that, you would cannibalize most of the developable land that you have on that City Hall property. But we did go through an analysis on that.
One last question, Madam Chair. So the idea is to use the old water plant site, but is that also going to include the City Hall site for potential private investors?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, Councilperson. That entire utility district site, as well as the site where City Hall is slated right now, and the property where the police station right behind where City Hall is, that's all contemplated as part of the redevelopment of the community and for private investment. But City Hall would be set back on that particular parcel.
Okay, this is a question. Could we please stop putting public property on our prime property on the main thoroughfare? Please. And that's to my colleagues too. Please.
I think that I agree with that as well. But for instance, the issue with the police department, we went around the city to find property for the police department, but we can only find the property that we actually own to be able to do it because everything else was astronomical in terms of buying property. Same thing has happened with a lot of the projects that we have. We have to go back to what we own because we can't afford anything else. Mr. Sherman.
This slide here, I did want to point out before we jump into the personnel issues. If you go to the city website and you look for open finance, you can look at the city's budgets, spending. You can drill down through 2025, 2024, all of the information for past years, all of the vendor information, all of the revenue information. It's all available online. And you can go out and you can do your own research, and that goes, for all of our citizens and businesses as well. That is open 24 hours a day, and you can go out and review all of the city's finances at your leisure. Going to get into the personnel items here real quick.
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
can I go back to the
Sure.
general admission budget? Mr. Evans, you spoke about the operating expenses and you spoke a lot about different initiatives that colleagues have. Is that going to be, I'm sorry. Is that amount determined by you or do we get equal amounts to fund our initiatives?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
So that pot of money is specific for initiatives that are citywide, collectively what the board is working on. But specifically to your specific initiatives, you do have monies that are available in your promotional budget, and we can actually show you what your budgets are for your particular legislative office that you can utilize to fund specific initiatives that you're working on. But anything that's global, that's what it's provided for in that particular budget.
So what makes it, Madam Chair, what makes it personal versus citywide?
So if, for instance, it would be like the youth council, that is something that the city staff is going to be administering. What is the youth council program? The community grants program, that's a program that is citywide in nature. But if it's a specific initiative that is targeted, that a council person is working on specific, then it's specific to that. But if it's something that the collective board works on or wants to see, then it's transferred over to what is the other line item that was provided for.
Okay, thank you.
She should also know that I think that Councilwoman Miller Anderson's leadership started with her, and then it became a whole
Right.
global thing for the entire city. So,
So-
it came out of her budget first, and then, yeah.
Thank you. I was a recipient of that program.
Each year we do like to, again, put out the, what we call the hidden paycheck. Again, as you're looking at positions and you're looking at salaries, understand that that is just the top line on this sheet here. And then all of the added costs that come along with that, your Social Security, Medicare, pensions, health insurance, life insurance, all of those add costs to each individual. So again, as we go through and we're talking about positions, it also works the other way. If you're reducing or eliminating position, this is where, again, you make, your savings. This is where the bigger items are. So again, just a point, this is all $80,000 across the line for general employees, firefighters, and police officers. We'll point out the bottom line on the screen up there. Our average annual base salary right now, citywide, is $82,578. Okay, so this schedule is prepared based off of $80,000, which is the approximate for our average.
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
I have a question about salary. Could you take one and pass it down, please? Oh, to the Mayor, could you give this to pass it on. Could you give that to the city attorney and the city manager, and one to the HR director? Here's the one for the HR director. What I'm passing out is it's part of our city charter, and it addresses salaries for the legislative aides. And I want to make sure that I am interpreting what is being said in the charter correctly. And it actually says the city council may, subject to annual budget procedures, appoint and set the salaries for its legislative staff who shall serve at the pleasure of the council. All right, I want to ask our attorney, does that mean that the city council set the legislative or can set the legislative salary?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And what I wanted to address is the salaries in the budget. And certainly, we all have our own personal legislative assistant, but heretofore it has come through the city manager. But I think that's something that should come from us, within the constraints of our budget, obviously. But I think that's a discussion that needs to be had, especially with the mayor. If you know how much the mayor runs, and he has his chief of staff with him, and oftentimes the chief of staff is out there too without him. He's at another event. There's a different level of engagement. And I think that we need to have a discussion on how to address that relative to salaries. So I don't know if this is the appropriate time, but salaries were on the floor, so I decided to bring this point up at this time.
Madam Chair? Thank you, and thank you, Councilman Guyton. I actually want to bring this up during the discussion on legislative salaries. I know we're going to talk about that, but this is a perfect time to talk about the segue. Mr. Evans, we spoke at the April 16th meeting and talked about the difference between the chief of staff and the legislative aide roles. I know at that time we determined that the chief of staff and the legislative aide was going to be the same role or classified, the same salary. And I believe one of my colleagues, I believe it was Councilman Guyton, actually directed us during that meeting to bring back the item to differentiate between the two. During budget workshops was what you mentioned, Mr. Evans, but I wasn't sure if there was a time frame. When are we going to address the difference between chief of staff and legislative aide?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
With regards to that particular item, we can address that at tomorrow's session. We can adjust that now. One of the things that we are in the process of doing is, and we're under the cone of silence, is having a consultant to come look at all our personnel and classifications and the like. But it's completely up to the board concerning when you want to have the discussion about legislative aides and chief of staffs. And to the mayor's point, on that April 16th meeting, the board did say that they wanted to pay all the legislative aides the same until the conversation did come back. But traditionally, before that, the chief of staff, I believe, was making approximately $3,000 more than what the legislative aides were.
Right. And you know why that happened? Because the person who took that position was in another position, and to compensate that person, they made it chief of staff and gave that person additional monies. With that being said, I still believe that all of the aides should be paid the same amount. Everybody, all of these aides work as hard as the mayor's aide and as hard as everybody else's aide. So to have it distinguished and say that this aide works more and should be paid more, I don't agree with that. I agree that whatever you decide to pay, it needs to be across the board and not just separating one out from the rest of this board. That's my opinion.
I'm sure.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And if I could just finish the comments before.
Go ahead.
Thank you. And Mr. Evans, if you could have, I believe that we did do some research. I'm not sure if your staff is ready just to kind of differentiate between the two, the chief of staff and the legislative aide and the roles that they actually follow. Is that something that you can actually present to the board? Because I would disagree that the roles are equal or the same, just based upon what I've seen just in, just over 100 days of the work and also serving on both sides as a District 5 representative with a legislative aide. And then now as the mayor, it's completely different. Also, the policy, the tiered policy, we don't have that where I believe Mr. Evans has the ability to set the salary based on when we do our hirings. So based on this document that Mr. Councilman Guyton just brought up, who actually appoints the additional 5%, 10%, or 15% salary increase when we're hiring our staff if they report to the council? That's another discussion I want us to have as well. And then also finally, the chief of staff traditionally has a distinction between the legislative aid role and chief of staff because the responsibility and the role of the mayor's office is a little bit more strenuous than some of the other departments. So I would say the chief of staff does have an opportunity to provide that support to the mayor's office. We're getting calls 24/7 like every other council member. So not to actually downplay or knock any legislative aid, I think everyone has the ability to do all the same work. But I do believe that this role should be differentiated because it has historically and traditionally been differentiated.
Yes, and then I'll say again that that may be the case, but that the reason why it was distinguished was because of a classification that was made to happen because the person who was coming into that role wanted to have the same money that they were having in another role in the city. So they just created a chief of staff, the name of it, to be able to accommodate that. Now we can kind of go back and forth, but I still say that the each one of these aides deserve across the board whatever is going to be paid.
I'm sure.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Okay, I agree with you 100%. I know that my legislative aid goes to numerous events when I can't be at that event, or if we have two events, I'll go to one, he'll go to another. I think all of our aides work very, very hard and should be paid the same across the board. And I support your position. Thank you.
I'm Chair.
Yes, go
I
ahead.
support your position. If it's a matter of titles, change the title back to mayor's legislative aid.
Oh, well, we all get chiefs of staff
Right.
and they all get paid the same.
But I do agree that everybody works hard.
And say, I didn't mean to suggest it.
No, we know that you didn't really suggest
Okay.
that.
I'm sure.
Let me clear that
Yeah,
up.
we know that you're not
Okay.
saying that they don't work
Okay,
hard.
okay.
And I
All right.
understand the reasoning why you guys are saying that because there is a different name. And I'm telling you because of historical facts in regards to classification, it was done that way because the person who came in as quote unquote chief of staff worked in another department. And to accommodate that, they just made it chief of staff to make sure that that person got the same money coming over to that position. But in terms of roles, and if you look at the chief of staff and the legislative assistant roles, both are pretty much the same. There may be maybe had to be some differences in regards to giving that person additional funding. But whatever that funding may be, whether it be 3,000 or 30,000, it needs to be the same across the board.
Understood. Last thing, my main point was that we as a city council need to address the salaries of that position at the appropriate time.
Increase.
Yeah, we gave an
We
increase.
just did an increase a couple months ago.
Yeah, we
And
did.
it was us that did it.
I'm sure.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
I'm not certain, I'm not sure why our legislative aides are hourly. They work on an hourly basis. Shouldn't they be salary? I mean, because they're working way more hours than they're permitted to work. Wouldn't it be easier to just make them salaried workers?
Did we not do that? No, we didn't.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
Your legislative aides are permitted to work up to 40 hours, but they are hourly employees. They are not treated as salary. And there is a 7-prong test that has to be done to be able to qualify them to fall under that exempt status to where they're not eligible for overtime wages. So those positions would have to be reviewed in that particular fashion in order to qualify for that.
We're requesting that. We're requesting the HR to look at that.
To
To look at from hourly to
salary?
to salary, just to look at it. We may not go that route, but I would like to know what that looks like.
They can work more than 40 hours. That ain't no benefit going salary, you know that, right?
Madam Chair, if I may.
They work 40 hours, they work 45.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Also, just for just for some context as well, we can look at that, but also I just want, the board to consider is that you do have similar style positions in the organization, and in some cases in your collective bargaining units. And so when we look to have compensation and parity, we have to make sure that we can look to slot them appropriately, so there's not a situation whereby they're doing similar duties to what a peer in a union is and they're making or have additional benefits. So we'll look at all that, and then we can provide something for the board's consideration. And we can look to have that queued up for you by your first reading of the budget, your September 3rd meeting, I believe.
Madam Chair?
That's fine. Are you through, Mr. Spitters?
I'm finished, thank you.
Ms. Spitters?
Mr. Evans, with regards to looking into that, also like what it would mean to, if say you wanted to end the relationship with your legislative aide, like what would that entail if they're salary versus hourly?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
The starting salaries or the compensation or the raises, how do we play a factor with that based upon what this charter says? Because I believe our city manager has the ability to go up to 15% over, but in addition to that, based on the experience, we don't have a policy in place with years of experience, with degree seeking. We don't have anything in policy to say what we can actually hire our legislative aide, chief of staff, whatever we want to call it, at that dollar amount. So if we have an individual that comes in with the experience or the degrees or highly sought after, similar to how Mr. Evans would bring them in at a higher salary, what is our policy for that?
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
From the particular vantage point of looking at when somebody comes into the organization, I would, if it's the board's pleasure, I would say that it should emulate or echo the same process that we do internally. So if there's a person that exceeds, the department heads have the ability to offer what is 5% above what the minimum is. Anything above 5%, then there's a justification memo that's provided to justify this person has X amount of years and experience and the like. And then that is the tool that helps facilitate if there is, when you're bringing somebody in to the organization, when they're already in the organization, that's when a compensation and classification study looks to slot them in their appropriate range. And so that's how you move them through the range if they're already in the organization.
I'm sorry, you said that you do it. I'm sorry, Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
So you said that you do what is it? You do a study, follow a process?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
So when somebody is coming into the organization, when they're coming in, if it's over that 5% and the department wants to give them 10 or 15%, there's a justification memo that's provided as a result of that person coming in the door. If they are already in the organization, then it's a situation that usually through a compensation and classification study, it's a situation where you slot them appropriately. Now, in your particular cases where your positions are quite different, it's the legislative priority of the board. What do you want to set as the appropriate range, and how do you want to move people through the range? Our case is slightly different from the standpoint that our employees are largely unionized workforce, and if they're non-reps, there's levels to that where there's knowledge, skills, and abilities that provide for where we slot them. But that's completely in the purview of the board, where you think and how you think they should be moved through the ranges.
So just to follow up with that, Madam Chair,
Yes, go
the
ahead.
reason that I did actually throw that back to Mr. Evans is because we want to have a policy. They have a set policy on how they actually hire their legislative staff. We don't. When it comes to the salary, setting their salary and what's their starting amount, and then also bringing them over the dollar amount, the hiring process. None of us actually chose the dollar amount that we wanted to hire our legislative aides or chief of staffs at. That was determined by our city manager. So we as a board need to have a policy in place so that we can control our legislative aid hiring process moving forward. And also, I want to make sure that this is clear. I need to make sure the salary for my chief of staff / legislative aid is going to be increased based upon the percentage, whether we want to call it expertise, whether we want to call it degree seeking, whether we want to call it whatever level of experience they have. That's why I want to make sure that my staff and everybody else can do the same and request, as long as it's within the budgeted item. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, and also too, in addition to that, we can look at other cities because the mayor of Boca has an assistant and they're 10 times big as us. So it may vary from city to city. So we need to look at, if we're looking at this, we also need to look at other cities and how that compares as well.
And follow up, Madam Chair, I believe Ms. DeCosta was supposed to be bringing back an item to review the differences of the positions and then also the examples. So this was actually given to us back in April, but it hasn't been brought back to us yet. So being that one of the side discussions were to have it during budget talks, my aide and all the aides have been very patient so that we can discuss salaries and make sure it's very clear and concise. But I want to make sure that this is the first night of budget so that we're all on the same page moving forward and then it's addressed immediately.
Yeah, we need to have this settled before we go into our second budget reading.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Just for clarity's sake, so you would like for us to review the salaries for legislative aides across Palm Beach County. You want us to look at whether they're hourly versus salary, and then what a hiring range would be, and then how what is a policy concerning their entrance into the organization, and then ultimately how does an elected official sever ties?
Right.
Okay.
Like just a policy for aides, because I think that because they are different from other employees in terms of how they, you know, the amount that they make versus their hourly, they're not exempt. So it's a different set of standards for them. So we need to have some policy for, you know, people coming after us and how they pick their legislative aid based on their experience. Does that, you know, warrant additional funding? However that goes, we need to have something in place so that from now on, you know, new council people will be able to make that determination themselves about how they bring their aides in.
And, Madam Chair, there was one item that we also put on the board. I think there was a discussion, but the pleasure of the board seemed like they wanted to keep the legislative aides and the chief of staff as the same position versus separating them out, if that was my understanding, because I think we heard maybe 3 voices that said that. But I just want to get clarity on that.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And that's without hearing from our HR or staff as to the
Well, I
differences.
mean, that was, I mean, we're not voting on it, so it's not a thing, but she certainly can look at that.
But we have to give staff clear direction because that wasn't on his list. So if we're going to give them direction, I want that presented or not presented
Want it to
based on the
be-
pleasure of the board.
You want it to be where they look at the separation of it? What are you asking?
Yes, ma'am. So the discussion was, Mr. Evans recapped what we're bringing back. The discussion between chief of staff and legislative aides was not a part of his items because there was not the pleasure of the board. So I want to know if that's something we'd like to hear or if we've made a decision as to not proceed and keep them the same.
No, we can at least hear it. and
We can
make
hear
a-
it, but, you know,
make a
our
decision.
understanding is that the majority said that, you know, that they wanted to say the same, but let us, it may turn around, you never know.
No, I just want to make sure that Mr. Evans has clear direction because there's been times where we won't get it back because we haven't given him clear direction. So if we're going to give him clear direction to bring it back, I want him to bring it back for us. Otherwise, we'll proceed accordingly.
Oh, gotcha.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You can bring that back so we can look at it.
Madam Chair, I have a request.
Yes.
As it relates to the 5, 10, and 15% increase over the range,
Okay.
if you will, based on expertise and experience, I would like, if you will indulge me, to have HR also amend the policy to give me the same opportunity or that the manager has as it relates to his staff.
You don't
As it
have that
currently
now?
stands, if I want to go over the 5%, I have to get the permission of the manager. And because we are 2 separate contract employees, I'm asking for the same ability that he has, that the manager has.
Can we look at that as well?
Yeah, Madam
HR?
Chair.
HR,
Madam Chair.
let me, hold on a
Yeah,
second.
okay.
Mr. That's okay.
Good evening, Madam Chair.
Yes, to the question of the city attorney, is that something that is doable, or is that something you have to look at in regards to making it the same as with the city manager, or is that a contract issue?
I mean, that's separate. I understand that the city manager oversees salaries, but again, Ms. Nguyen is a contract employee, just like Mr. Evans, but he has oversight of salary, but she's a contract employee as well that wants to bring in staff of her own and wants to be able to bring them in at a higher rate. She's basically going to the city manager for permission, and she doesn't report to the Mr. City Manager. But at the same time, the city manager oversees salaries.
Madam Chair, if I may
Yes, go ahead,
also
sir.
provide some additional commentary. Also, if they are city employees,
Yes.
in that particular case, they're bona fide city employees, and pursuant to the charter, that's where the responsibility for that particular situation is discussed. Or that I'm not opposed to a situation, but I think there should just be some research associated
Oh,
with that.
that's exactly what we're asking for. We're
Madam
not
Chair.
asking to do that. We're asking to research that to see what that looks like.
Yeah, that was my request for the research. But I also will point out, although they're city employees, especially as it relates to the lawyers and the paralegals, no one can supervise them under the rules of the Florida Bar except another attorney. And so when it comes to hiring and firing, it's not a situation where, for instance, in another city or the county manager isn't going to hire and fire an assistant city attorney because they don't have the ability to supervise them.
But I understand exactly what you're saying, and we're saying that we'll have HR to look at, see what that looks like for us, and at our next budget meeting, we can have a conversation about that.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
So
sir.
isn't that the same thing with the legislative aides, and wouldn't they fall under the same city employee purview?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
Since there's a provision that calls out specifically in the charter that speaks specific to that particular issue, that's why it's viewed slightly different.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Evans.
So you understand now? Okay.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
one parting comment. All contract employees should have the same authority to hire and fire and bring in at a 5 or 10% rate. One contract employee shouldn't have to go to another contract employee for approval for their personnel. So
What does, well, at this point, it's not in the charter, so we can't argue that, but we can research it and see what that looks like.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Mr. Sherman, let's go.
Okay,
All over there.
I'm about ready to turn over the personnel discussion to the city manager. He's going to make that presentation. But before we get to that, significant piece of legislation passed last year, House Bill 929 regarding firefighter health and safety has a significant financial impact on the budget. So Chief Kurt is going to come up and talk to you about that, and then we will jump over to the city manager and the personnel.
Very good.
Thank you, Board. Good evening. John Kurd, Fire Chief. I'll make this quick and to the point. On July 1st, 2025, the governor passed House Bill 929, making it effective into law, which basically broadens the existence of the Florida Firefighters Occupational Health and Safety Act. Just to really get into some of we've done a very good job of staying ahead of this. We've seen it coming. We knew it was coming. 75% of the things that are going to be required are already being done or in the process of being accomplished. But there's two things that will provide for a significant impact moving forward. The first is making sure that our firefighters are all being supplied with gear that is PFAS free. All of our gear at some point in time contained PFAS, led to the cancer rates. We don't need to go down that road. You understand what that is. We were very fortunate this year, while the money was budgeted for us in last year's capital, due to some wear testing and some slowdowns, basically, we didn't purchase the gear, thankfully. Now that the governor has passed his new bill, we are in a good position to buy this new PFAS gear that is required to be provided. However, it's like healthy food. It costs a lot more than unhealthy food. When you want fat-free, you seem to pay more for it. So Our dollar's not going to go as far with this gear. However, it does prevent us from just buying gear 6 months ago and looking at having to make another $300,000 or $400,000 investment. So we're happy that we were able to stay ahead of that. But the one that will be challenging is looking for municipalities and employers to limit firefighters' work weeks from 48 hours a week to 42 hours a week. We've already discussed this in times past. This is that 24 72-hour work schedule in lieu of the 24 48. This is one of the ways to get down to that average 42-hour work week. And when you look at these firefighters that are being added to the budget, this was our attempt during last negotiations. While we weren't ready for that level of upstaffing, we knew we could budget and bargain incremental increases so that when we got to our next budget session, or our next negotiation session, we would be in a better place as a municipality to adhere to these new laws. So when you see these 9 positions, this is all build up and ramp up for what will be coming before you at some point in time next year on a new firefighter work schedule of 24/72, and then the remaining firefighters that would be needed to fulfill this new passing of the House bill. And I'll answer any question. There's a lot more to it, but for the sake of time, I'm trying to stick with the meat and potatoes. And to the state of Florida governor's office, their own words, the economic impact is indeterminate negatives due to gross cost and implementation requirements. So this is an unfunded mandate that we are going to work towards satisfying, but just wanted to make you all aware of it.
Are there type of grants or anything for the federal government in regards to getting the fire department up to standard with these non-PFAS equipment, outfits?
Yes, and we're constantly on the hunt for grants. Assistant Chief Golden has been working on quite a few grants. We're looking at our SAFER grant again this year, but we have to also understand with the passing of this bill, every municipality in the state of Florida will be going after these same grants. So we're going to make a good, hard, honest attempt to achieve all of the funding, if not some of the funding, and stay active in the grant space to try to offset or defray some of these costs.
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
two quick questions. Chief, do we have the resources that you have now to keep the firefighters safe until we identify some additional funds?
At this moment in time, yes, we have everything that we need to keep them safe at this moment. Is it a perfectly safe environment? No, their gear still contains PFAS. There's some peer support and some mental health stuff in here that we're working very closely on. Actually, Officer Hines, I have to commend the police department. They got some really good people that are working on, and we're working with them on some of these health and safety initiatives. So as of right now, we're in an okay space, but we'll quickly fall behind if we don't stay on top of this.
Last question. Have you given the city manager and or the finance director the additional costs that would be needed in order to adhere to what the new law is?
Me and Chairman have had conversations, and I know me and Mr. Evans in the past were looking at what those dollar numbers would be for each additional firefighter. Some of the stuff with the gear and some of the other things that came in with this bill have not yet been addressed. I didn't quite know all of them were coming, but we've handled and prepared for a large majority of these costs moving forward.
It would be helpful to have those numbers broken down so that at least we can know what is needed and what we need to try to secure.
Absolutely, and we'll be coming to you all here very shortly with the bunker gear, and we'll have a breakdown on what gear used to cost versus what this is costing now and the like. So as we go through this process, we'll make sure at each step of the way that you all have brought the information on how this impacted us and what the cost to us will be as a result of House Bill 929.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Right, very good. Mr. Sherman.
Madam Chair, the next item is the department personnel request, and so I'll walk through each of the departments. For the fire department, it is adding 9 firefighter
Mr.
positions.
Evans, wait 1 second, I'm sorry. Could you send to each council member a budget from each department to us? We need a budget from each department, whichever library, whatever, send us, council, those budgets.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so we can, I believe how the budget document I sent you is broken down, but we can break that down even further
Thank you.
associated with that. That's not a problem. We can get that out this evening.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
yeah, more itemized.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
All right. Madam Chair, if I may, in the budget, you have the addition of 9 new firefighters in the fire department. You have the deletion of a vacant deputy chief position and an addition of an assistant chief position. And then you have an addition of an assistant to the chief position in the fire department. In the police department, you have delete.
But wait,
Is that-
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry. but-
yeah, go ahead.
Madam Chair, in the fire department,
Yes,
you said there is a deletion of a vacant deputy fire chief position.
that is correct. Sorry.
Wasn't that out to be filled at one time?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
Yes, I believe that position was posted to be filled. And that particular position has always been a peer level position. For some years, we have not, in fact, reduced or moved that position to the assistant chief, but they are treated as peer level positions, no different than I have 2 assistant city manager positions. That's what this particular position is. So you would have 2 assistant chiefs in the fire department that would be peer level positions.
Did you not change yours the same way?
I did, Madam Chair.
So the assistant to the chief, what is that, a secretary?
Madam Chair,
Yes,
that is an administrative
assistant.
support staff, yes.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
I just walked in, but did I miss the reason why we went from deputy to an assistant chief? Or we're eliminating one of them?
Yeah, we
Go
went
ahead.
through
Yeah, I
it.
just-
What?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
That position has always historically been treated as a peer level position.
Mhm.
So this is merely more so a title correction to reflect what their duties and responsibilities are. They're not seen as, in fact, the number 2 in the department. They have all operated at a peer level position.
So in the event that our chief is indisposed, who becomes the acting chief? If those are peer level positions.
Madam Chair, if I may, depending on, if the chief is not exposed, me as the manager will make the determination out of the 2 chiefs who would serve in that particular capacity. In some cases, we've appointed persons that have served above what is the deputy or the second or the assistant. And specifically, that's happened just recently before we selected Chief Coleman. We had a situation where we appointed a major to serve as the chief versus following the traditional, which was the assistant chief in that situation.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right.
go ahead.
Next item is delete of 1 crime scene analyst position, which is vacant, and delete 1 staff assistant position. Once it becomes vacant, I believe that there is an impending retirement or what have you associated with that, and then add what is an assistant to the chief position for PD. For human resources, change the department name from human resources to human resources and risk management department. Reclassify human resources business partner 2 to HRS analyst 2. Reclassify
What does that HRIS stand for?
human resources system information systems.
Okay, okay.
Then reclassify business partner position to senior HR resource program administrator.
Do the HR department have a recruiter?
Madam Chair, if I may? Yes, they do.
Okay.
They do.
Who is that?
Madam Chair, if I may? You can just check. Madam Chair, Belkis. Belkis, Jasmine, and Sharonda. So we have multiple people that are recruiters.
Okay.
That's news to me. Like,
Everybody on T, right?
yeah.
You
Um, yes.
Right.
Um,
Go ahead.
we have, in city administration, changed the title from youth worker to summer intern, reclassify, office manager to customer service and quality assurance manager, reclassify, the business and economic development manager position, uh, reclassify the internal auditor position, and add a project manager, position.
What does that project manager do?
The project manager would serve as basically the city's owner's rep that would help manage some of our construction and capital projects.
Madam Chair, didn't we request some research about the internal auditor reporting to the city council?
Madam Chair, if I may,
Go ahead.
I believe the city attorney was, sent that information, that correspondence to the board. I think she was tasked with providing that information. The reclassification here is merely increasing the salary associated with that position because the current range and span, you're just not getting the role of applicant. So that is just, it's not hiring the position, it is increasing what would be the wage for that position.
Madam Chair,
Let's go ahead.
so we were doing that to have some independence from the city. Is that position still gonna have to come through you?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
I have to look at what the report from the city attorney did show. I can tell you what the ordinance provides for. The ordinance does provide for basically a dotted line reporting structure where there is reporting to the board as well as the audit committee, and the relationship with the city manager's office is the hiring of said individual. But
Okay, Madam Chair, may I?
Go ahead. June 30th.
Okay, all righty.
June 30th is just.
Okay,
the time we got.
no, I lost my thought, but I got it back now.
You got it?
I got it back
All
now.
right.
Because what we want is, well, let me speak for me. I was the one that brought it up. What I was looking for is to have someone that had no association with anybody in the city, to include you, Mr. Sherman, anybody, to do.
That is exactly what the audit committee asked. They were supposed to go, meaning
Yep.
legal was supposed to go through the ordinances and the charter to make sure that the internal auditor was something that was separate and apart from city administration.
Everybody.
That reported to the board and reported to the audit committee themselves.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I will review that, but,
Madam
Mr.
Chair,
Attorney,
if I may too,
Let's go ahead.
and please correct me if I'm wrong, Madam Chair, I believe the audit committee did want to have and facilitate a conversation with the board on that very same topic, and they wanted to set a time to discuss this with you all in October, and that was at their last audit committee meeting when we did present to them the actual audit for last year. So I just wanted to provide that as an update.
They want to, the audit committee wants to have a conversation with this board about that same thing, about how do we look at an internal auditor that has no dealings or connection to city administration, but only to the board, the audit committee board, and the city council board.
okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if I may,
Go
and
ahead.
for operational efficiencies, and some of the things, it is critical. So if it is found that the board can in fact enter into some kind of agreement or we still need that level position for process improvements, operational items. So
Wait.
if it's the board's pleasure to this position or another position, I just want the board to know I will be asking for another audit style position because it does help with operational policies, procedures, those
No,
types
I
of things.
understand
So
exactly what you're coming from. What we are going to do is discuss this. This is something that the audit committee has talked about for the past year.
Yeah.
That is a discussion that the entire board needs to talk about with city administration and with legal to make sure that is something that we can do.
Okay, Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Right, so I think if I can sum this up, the board basically would like to have an independent auditor that answers directly to the city council and the audit committee. But the city manager is now stating that he would need another person similar to that, an internal auditor rather than an independent auditor, to help him run the city. So I think that this would be the time, Mr. Evans, for you to add that in the budget, if that's the way that you want to go, because you can see the consensus of the board and how we're going. So I think if you're going to need that position, you should probably add that position in this year's budget.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Because what we did discuss in the audit committee was that there could be two positions. That could be the internal auditor and a person who is separate apart, consultant, contractor, whatever, that this board and the audit committee, they report to.
Madam Chair,
Yes, go
if I
ahead.
may, and certainly I would say that if obviously it's the board's pleasure, but I think the most expeditious way, and you can certainly wait till that conversation with the audit committee, is a professional services agreement with an auditor that comes and presents in front of the board, and you select them by virtue of a contract and contractual relationship. And how that works is certainly up to how the relation stands. But I will tell you that there is a lot of value to that position, and I would like to have the position that I can.
And we are, yes,
Madam Chair?
yes, sir.
Thank you. And actually, at the end of the meeting, I was going to make some comments, but as part of the action plan, want to present and speak with the board about this week. My chief of staff will be reaching out to every office just to schedule for a 30-minute meeting, but an ombudsman was a part of the discussion to be housed within either the mayor's office or with the audit committee, so that we can kind of just have some accountability outside of any affiliated.
What's the difference?
What's the difference in which?
The audit,
So
yeah.
so the auditor would be just looking at and reviewing the finances. An ombudsman would be looking at all improprieties or any issues.
Processes and.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, gotcha.
Everything. So everything holistically. So
Gotcha.
that's literally 3 positions that we would be discussing by adding. But we just want to make sure that we have transparent government. That's the first thing. The second thing, I did want to go back to the deputy fire chief. Even though Mr. Evans chose to just remove one of the deputy positions, I think we've seen in continuity in government that we should keep a deputy in position just so that we have a succession planning. The police department still has a deputy chief, and they have an assistant chief. I think that within the fire department, we should still keep a deputy chief, just so that if anything does happen to our chief Kurd, God forbid, we have succession planning and clear succession planning. So it's not a decision that's made by the board or the city manager or anybody else. We just know who's going to be in charge if they're indisposed or away. So I'd prefer to see that option, and I'd see if that'd be the interest or the pleasure of the board to keep a deputy as opposed to adding another assistant chief.
It's fine either way with me because I understand the position of having 2 assistants, and the person who's in charge makes that decision about who's going to do what. I think that the deputy position creates a hierarchy that maybe they need or they don't need. I'm not sure how that works, but I would think that the fire department would be the ones to make that decision.
That's what I'd like to hear from Chief Kurd as to if he can opine on if there's a reason behind it or if it's a necessary, if there's a need, if Chief is here. Okay, you gonna go in the restroom again?
That's not going to be in your new job, Madam Chair.
Where you going?
That's not going to be in his new job description. I just want.
I'm like, where are you going?
Chief, go ahead.
Mother.
Go ahead.
Good evening.
We wanted to know
Thank you.
the difference between the deputy and the assistant, the 2 assistants versus the assistant and the deputy and you. And what was your preference and why would it be 2 assistants instead of a hierarchy of chief, deputy and
deputy.
an assistant.
And just to add on to that, my concerns were that I've seen it within the city manager's office where he's gotten rid of the deputy. He had two assistants. So, but also in the police department, they do have a deputy and an assistant chief. So I wanted to see what's the reason behind removing one of these positions and see if it'd be an interest to keep the assistant deputy fire chief, and then instead of adding two assistant chiefs.
Okay, so this started after, well, we originally only had a deputy chief. City of Riviera Beach never had an assistant fire chief. An assistant fire chief was brought in, Assistant Chief Golden was brought in, and Mark Johnson was our deputy chief. When Mark Johnson left the organization, we then, and this was during last year's budget conversation, I was looking to follow suit with other municipalities and the way they structure things. And then we started to see we were becoming very linear. It was, I have one person to report to, he has one person. We were looking to broaden more of the responsibilities. So looking at eliminating, in last year's budget request, eliminating the deputy chief's position to provide for two assistant chiefs. One would handle administration, one would handle operations, two very distinct skills that would be required. That wasn't approved last year. So I went on with the deputy chief's position. I've put out for the promotion of that position. And then this is what we have today. So I'm working within those constraints. It was originally my desire to have two assistants, but when that didn't happen last budget year, I was just moving forward with what was my org chart and making that happen. But that appears to have changed.
So if you were to take a vacation, who becomes the person in charge if you got two assistants?
Traditionally, it falls on the assistant chief that's administrative because they're more in tune with keeping the day-to-day operations going from an administrative standpoint, paying the bills, doing all of those things that are required. Where operations, we have several chiefs down in operations to keep the operational element going, but it would usually fall on the administrative chief.
Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
So, Mr. Evans, isn't it usually the city manager's role to choose who's going to be in charge of a department when the department head is not available to do their job?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
That is correct, Councilperson.
Thank you.
So, Mayor, what is your ask here?
I wanted to see from Chief Kurd, I know that this was a position we talked about last year, but while we were eliminating the deputy, and I just like to see continuity in government, just a clear, defined role, so that if there's ever a position or opportunity where someone is indisposed, the next man up is going to be in charge. So that's why I wanted to see to keep the deputy versus bringing in an assistant, two assistant chiefs.
Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
And just for clarity, it's one assistant chief. There's already an existing assistant chief, so it would be downgrading that deputy chief for another assistant chief to make two in totality.
So we'd have two assistant chiefs and no deputy. And then the administrative assistant chief would be the one in charge if Chief Kurd was ever indisposed, and they would be a defined role as to administrative and other assistant chiefs.
And operations, yes.
Operations.
And that's traditional. And yes, it would obviously be a conversation with my boss on, hey, I'm going out of town. This is how I think this is going to work out. This is who, and you all probably have seen it most times on my kickback emails. If it's an administrative issue, call this person. If it's an operational issue, call this person.
How long has, and follow up, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you. How long has that deputy chief been advertised position?
I advertised it earlier this year, 6 months, 6 months ago.
Did we look in to hire internal? Did we
It was internal only.
internal only?
Yes, sir.
And it just hasn't been filled?
We had 2 applicants. Right now, we're in the midst of some fact finding and an investigation that kind of has that process held up right now. As soon as that's concluded, we'll be able to determine how we move forward as an organization.
So the position is out. We currently have applicants. We're reviewing it, and then we're going to change the position and lower the salary.
We have 2 applicants for that position right now that are both internal.
Okay. So that's another thing. I mean, if we also have applicants and we've had advertised the position, and regardless of what's going on with the investigation, I mean, the salary is a reduction of 20,000, just under $17,000. So I would prefer to see, Madam Chair, and I'm sure it's the pleasure of the board, but a deputy chief versus just two assistants. Just because what I've seen personally, if something does happen to the head or the leader, I want to make sure that we have a clear role of who we're going to point to and who we're going to go to.
No, I understand that. Listening at the definition of operational versus administrative, um, the administrative assistant chief will be in charge anyway. So, I mean, what's the need to delete the deputy?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
not necessarily, because as I pointed out in the
Say
case,
the administrative assistant chief will be in charge if something happened to him or if he left.
Madam Chair,
Uh-huh.
I can give you a specific example here.
Okay.
We had a situation whereby we had attrition with the police department, and instead of appointing what is the assistant chief, I appointed a major to serve as the interim chief.
Oh, no, we heard
So-
that one. Yeah, we heard that. So, board, what do you think?
I'm sure.
Yes, go ahead.
Well, I could tell you from my past history in city management, it's usually up to the city manager to decide who is going to run the department when the department head is not available to run the job. Your city manager is your chief executive officer, and I think you should leave that role with the chief executive officer of your city, because everything, the buck does stop at his desk.
Right.
Something happens, he's the one we're going to.
So then leave the deputy chief where it is. You got a problem with that? All right, we're gonna let it stay where it is. Let's go. Next item.
Madam Chair, just for clarity,
Yes.
stay where it is.
It means that we're gonna keep the deputy chief on that classification. There will be no two assistants. There will be an assistant and a deputy chief.
I'm sure.
Yes, go ahead.
But it wouldn't make a difference. You could have two assistants. That's not going to change
Thought you
anything.
said-
It's up to it'll be up to the city manager to make
Oh,
the
you was,
decision
okay.
as to who
Okay, I
is
see.
going to be in charge, whether you have a deputy chief or an assistant chief. It would still be the role of the city manager to decide.
To make,
So if you want to have two assistant chiefs, that wouldn't interfere with who's going to take over
right.
when
And
someone's
then
gone.
therein lies my point. Why change it? That's my question. Why would you change
think-
it if that's the case?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
So I just think that that's up to the department head
Yeah.
and the city manager to decide whether they want to have two assistant chiefs or a deputy. I would leave that up to them.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
one
go
thing.
ahead.
Dr. Spiritus made one good point in what he was just saying. Just one. He said when something goes wrong, the buck stops with the city manager. And I've been sitting here for a while and some things have gone wrong and he wasn't held responsible. So I just want everybody to realize that that is accurate. When something go wrong in the city, the buck stops with the city manager. And I want all my colleagues to realize that we haven't been doing that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I got you. Thank you. Miss Davis Paneer, what do you think?
I trust staff on this one. If you see where that's a necessity, I can agree with the department head.
I'm going with the two assistant chiefs.
Okay. All right, then. Two assistant chiefs it is. Very good. Let's move on to the next item.
Madam Chair, moving into legal, changing the title from labor attorney to assistant city attorney, and changing the title from land use attorney to assistant city attorney. Those are just title changes in the attorney's office. And the reason for those is that it's hard to recruit persons in those respective disciplines, so it gives the flexibility of the organization to get the best available talent that is needed for the organization versus a situation where it's specific. And then it does show it is for a lot of folks in that discipline upward mobility to be referenced as the assistant city attorney. So it is also a good recruitment element as well. Next one is
Wait. Those were recommended changes by who? You or the city attorney?
We discussed it and I agree.
Okay. Let's move on.
Thank you.
let me ask the city attorney about, I know that you had the same issue in terms of the internal auditor about cost amounts, trying to recruit for those positions. Is that still an issue now?
It is. That's why if you go back to the previous conversation, I asked for that ability.
Right,
Yes.
right, gotcha.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Those salaries, City Attorney Nguyen, those are gonna remain, those are lateral, those are all gonna be the same between the labor and the city, Assistant City Attorney?
Unless I have the ability to increase within the range.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Public Works.
Madam Chair, we have defund a Public Works Operation Manager and add Public Works Assistant Director. The individual, the position is currently occupied. The individual that is in the operational manager position is serving as the de facto assistant director, has all the responsibilities, and this is a change to reflect the actual role that the individual is in. And then convert two part-time maintenance worker positions to one full-time maintenance worker. It is hard to be able to get individuals for those maintenance worker positions in a part-time capacity, so they've asked to consolidate that. The next item is specific to the utility district. Add one electrical instrumentation superintendent, one engineering technician, add one capital projects engineer, add one lab technician, add three valve and hydrant maintenance technicians, add two lead water plant operators, defund one electrical and instrumentation technician, and defund one senior accountant position. And for the positions added to the utility special district, the total for salaries and benefits is $727,000, and that's all in consultation with the utility district director that has asked for those items. Position title change is.
Wait, 1 second. Madam Chair, is Josh here? Is the
Yes.
utility district?
Go ahead.
I'm asked, my question is to the executive director.
He's coming up. You can ask him when we get to you.
Yeah, that's what I was waiting.
Go ahead.
Josh, what's your last name? I'm sorry.
Neiman.
Neiman, Mr. Neiman.
Mr. Neiman.
Mr. Neiman. Are these positions all that you need over there? Is it anything else that you need?
Right now, I think that's a good start. I mean, being here only 8 weeks, it's really hard to tell. Really, what I'm looking at is identifying a path for the new plant, as well as getting us to a point where the existing plant is in good shape and has the right staff to support that. So I plan on doing that on sort of twofold. One is to make sure when we bring in operators, we're bringing them in at higher level operators, like lead operators and superintendent. And that way, when we start our trainee program again, they're actually being trained by licensed, seasoned operators that have been in the business for anywhere from 10 to 15 years. From an electrical standpoint, the entire brand new water plant will be all automated. You'll push a button and it'll run itself. So that means from a back point that our electrical staff will need to be able to fix everything in that plant. And so that's why I need it.
In the interim, between now and when that plant is built,
Yes, sir.
and that's going to take how long? A few years?
We're looking at early 2029 for commissioning.
Okay. What is going to be needed to run in the most efficient way possible?
Exactly what you're looking at.
These?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Last thing. I requested from Mr. Evans and you a bi-weekly activity report. I've only received one. Did I request that? Okay. I would like that.
Yes, sir.
This is the most important issue in our community, and we normally only spend 30 minutes on it. I think that's inappropriate.
We can want to.
Nope, not tonight. But I'm just saying.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It's these capital projects, which we're going to be discussing tomorrow, are the most important. with the water plant being the
Thank you,
top.
Mr.
You're welcome.
You got what you?
Yeah.
All right.
And-
Mr. Evans, go ahead.
And Madam Chair, the other items are all title changes. The title changes are to reflect what industry standards and what these positions are being called in their respective disciplines. So there's no fiscal impact to the title changes.
Okay.
The next item gets into the enterprise funds, and if we can have Mr. Sherman walk us through those.
Hopefully.
Okay, so the first one that we have is the utility special district. Just again, so everybody understands kind of the way that this budget is developed. We're party to the ECR, which takes care of the wastewater plant. It's operated by the city of West Palm Beach. They adopt their budget first. Our costs for the ECR are rolled into the utility district
So,
budget.
Mr. Sherman, I'm sorry to interrupt. So the ECR is this is West Palm Beach only. It's not its own separate entity.
No, so the ECR is its own entity, and it has 5 members. So,
Oh, I see.
okay, so it's
Right,
West
right.
Palm Beach, it's the
Right.
county, Lake Worth Town, and Riviera Beach.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
So,
Okay,
So, Mr. Chairman, so basically the city of Riviera Beach is the part owner, is that correct?
correct.
Right, I just want to make
Each
that
of
clear.
the 5 members are
Right.
a part
We
owner,
are part owners, right?
correct, but it is actually operated by West Palm
Correct.
Beach. So that budget is rolled into the utility district budget as entity that was created by the city. As again, I showed you earlier when I showed you all the budgets, the utility district budget was included in that. And when we do our public notice, the utility district budget is included. I do want to say that, as you know, we spent a year developing the rates that were adopted. So this 2026 budget reflects the rates as they were adopted back in January. Pretty much built this budget because remember, we didn't have a director at that time. We built this budget based off of all of the analysis that the rate consultant had put together. I then took those numbers and met with the utility district staff. Each division head kind of tweaked their numbers slightly, but the $44.3 million number is what the rates will support for next year. So that is the budget that we have. Mr. Neiman has looked at it. But again, as you know, he said he's only been here a few months. He really isn't in a position to make significant changes to the operations at this point. So this is the budget that we're recommending for
But
the
we can always
utility.
go back if we see the need in the future. Am I correct?
Correct.
All right.
Okay, the next slide are the 2 enterprise funds that currently operate out of the finance department administratively. We have the marina on the left. The marina continues to generate annual profits of about $1 million a year. You see a significant jump in the projected budget for 2026 as we have started to incorporate the mooring fields into these numbers. I will tell you that right now we are waiting for the submerged land leases from the Army Corps of Engineer before we can then bring back the proposals to install the north and central mooring fields, and obviously have some discussions as far as exactly how many moorings we are going to install. Even though we're permitted for a certain number, does not mean that we have to install that number.
Right, Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Right, so, Mr. Chairman, so
Yes.
your numbers are based on what?
So
The
let me-
mooring field.
My numbers are based when we brought these numbers originally, it was based on all 3 mooring fields. I understand the south mooring field is still an item of question at this point. But again, what the spending really is here, in order to do the mooring field, the actual installation of the moorings is on the capital side. It's not in the operating budget. But this includes purchasing all the additional boats that we would need because we need pump out boats. Okay, because we're going to actually have to go to the mooring fields and do the pump outs. It includes additional police boats, and it includes, even though the harbor master will be managing the mooring fields, we did include additional marine patrol units for the police department in here.
Okay, but the number of mooring docking areas is not based on this number.
It is not.
These are fixed numbers that you're gonna need no matter how many boats we permit in the mooring field, correct?
Correct.
Okay, just wanna make that clear. Thank you.
On the right-hand side, we have the parking budget. Again, I actually received new parking projection numbers. This does not reflect those numbers at this point. So really, this is a carryover from the 2025 budget. The numbers that have been projected are far in excess of this. We are prepared to go live with paid parking on September 1st, if that is still the desire of the board to meet that date. If that's the case, you will start to see some parking signs starting to be installed.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
So, Mr. Chairman, when are residents gonna be able to come and buy their 6-month and 1-year passes?
So we went over that portal today, because again, it's going to be a portal where you can go online, and that would be up and running within a week. It would be before September 1st.
Madam Chair.
Along with getting
This
employees.
year?
I'm sorry,
Yes.
go ahead.
Madam,
about this
Madam
year?
Chair, if I may,
Yeah.
and I know it is absolutely staff's desire to facilitate getting parking up and operational, but we did promise the businesses and the community that we would provide what is extraordinary notice, 30, 45 days and the like. And as we were digging into it, I just think that, today's the 18th and starting, the 1st of September, I think it would be problematic for us. And I think it would set the wrong relationship. And so my recommendation would be that we look to roll it out after we've provided at least 30 days notice to the businesses and our residents that says paid for parking is coming and this is what you can expect.
Right, Madam Chair?
Yes.
So are we going to advertise to the community and make it clear to them that they can buy those 6-month and 1-year passes?
Madam, if I may, we would do a PSA, and we would also facilitate a meeting because there's going to be some other questions that some of the business community will have as a result. So we would do both, and then we would provide some notifications in the utility bill. Because if we have 4 weeks, we can place it in the mailers and do a marketing campaign
Madam
associated
Chair.
with that.
Yes, go ahead.
So I just want to make it clear, once again, when you're using utility bills, that doesn't do anything for people that live on Singer Island. You have to go to everybody, by resident. You can't do utility bills.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
That would just be one of the tools, but certainly we would make sure that we reach out to the HOAs and the presidents of the HOAs and social media and the like. And so if any of the elected officials would like to be in the PSA, we certainly would appreciate it.
Sure, of course. You all will. We'll all allow, we'll blurb. Mr. Sherman, go ahead.
Okay. Last slide. No, it's not. I have one more after this. Is the stormwater and solid waste collections, which fall under the Public Works Director. Stormwater again, and actually both of these, you can notice that the budgets are relatively flat. So because we charge a flat fee for stormwater, okay, and we're charging a flat fee for solid waste. So unless there is an increase in the residential business customer base, you're not going to see much fluctuation in these budgets. I will point out, and you will see tomorrow night, that there is a significant amount of stormwater capital projects that are coming your way. If you look at that budget, that is every dollar that we have in stormwater. And there is no capacity for any real large capital projects or capital financing. If we want to do that, there will be a rate increase that will be required. Now, I'll tell you, the rate was originally adopted in 2003. The rate was doubled in 2015. And just looking at some of the numbers on the capital project list, I think probably even more than doubling it next time would necessarily, but we'll have that discussion in greater detail as we move forward.
Let me ask you a question right quick because we're coming up on 8:28. Stormwater, something we were talking about the port in the paying
Yeah.
or what? I remember that.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Specific to that issue, the port does have some stormwater infrastructure on its property that helps convey the water from the city and that ultimately discharges into the Lake Worth Lagoon. And what the port has asked for is some type of credit associated with the infrastructure and the investments that they make on their property, because invariably they have to make those investments right away. They can't wait for a capital project and for the city to do that. So we did tell them we are looking at the stormwater ordinance and looking to make some modifications because, and you'll see this tomorrow in your capital projects. Usually when you have a stormwater fund, you have money for operational maintenance and then, or operation, capital, and personnel. And your personnel costs have absorbed what is your entire stormwater assessment monies, and you don't have the ability to make the investments in some of the stormwater infrastructure that needs to happen. So that is something that certainly we need to look at, and invariably you're going to see an increase associated with that. But that goes back to the earlier point that we really think there's a lot of value to removing this off the utility bill and putting it on the tax bill, because you have $30 worth of fees that are on the water bill that if your solid waste goes up or your stormwater goes up, people see it in their utility bills and misinterpret that as a increase in the utility bill. And so it would certainly be staff's recommendation to remove that, because you would provide for what is $30 worth of quote unquote savings that would be deferred to when an item is on the tax bill. But that's, you know, a public policy discussion that the board needs to have. But it does require some notice requirements, for consecutive notice requirements to consider that. But your stormwater fund doesn't have the capital to make the investments necessary.
Very good. We are, yeah, we're done.
We're done.
Yeah, we're done.
Just your dates, just so
Listen,
you know.
board, tomorrow, are we still doing 6 to 8:30?
Yep.
All right, very good.
Excuse me, Madam Chair. I mean, I'm just as excited about getting out of here too, but we really need to make sure we address, I mean, I think we did fine tonight, but we really don't want to cut ourselves off where we can't complete what we need to do. We know we do budget once every year. So let's put the time in it, maybe, as I suggested earlier, to write your notes on the slides, and then we come back after the presentation, but nobody wants to do that, so it
Right.
slows you down.
So let's do this. We'll do a tentative dive tomorrow night, and then if we need to go before the first or second reading, then we can do it that way.
Okay, I have a question. Why didn't we just start the budget process sooner so we don't have to rush at the end? A lack of planning on someone else's part does not constitute an emergency
You
on
wanna
my
ask
part.
that, Mr. Evans?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
We had a hard time with regards to the availability and coordinating some of the availabilities that were problematic or challenging this year. So that's why we truncated this 2 years, and we stuck to this budget. Doesn't have many moving parts to it because it is a lot of basics because of the limited revenue that we saw this year.
Okay, so Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
so for next year, please plan to start sooner so we don't have this, we have to do it this time, do it that time, do it. This plan.
Last year, I think it was July last year.
I see.
Yeah,
One
because
last
it's on
thing, one last
weekends.
thing. Mr. Evans, since we're talking budget, do the workers that come to these meetings after work, after their normal day, do they get comp time or do they get overtime? Do they get anything?
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
if I may, the employees that are here don't receive comp time or overtime for attending these budget sessions or city council or workshop. But I will tell you that there's no, we don't tell them that what time they have to come in the next day.
Okay.
We're managing professionals.
Okay, let me just say this. I had a personal experience. I was the person running the CRA,
Mr. Guy.
but
Okay.
there was, wait, let me finish.
Okay,
There
go
was
ahead.
legal exposure, and they decided to settle with me. I'm talking about a personal experience. I'm not talking about what I heard. I'm talking that we are exposed if you don't give them comp time or some type of compensation. I'm saying it on record.
Madam
Thank you.
Chair, Mr. Guyton, I think it's been kind of well known that there are a lot of flex time that happens with many
Okay,
of
I
the
just want to
employees.
make
So,
sure that
yeah.
they're being advised that they
I
can
think
take
they're
it.
entitled, I'm sure they take advantage of the flex time.
Hope so.
Madam Chair, if I may. Also, only the departments that have capital projects tomorrow, you'll see, usually we keep them here, but you're probably largely not going to see most of the group here tomorrow, because some of them that don't have capital projects won't be here. And then when their capital project is discussed, they're free to leave.
We're gonna make sure that you get those individualized budgets,
Before you hit that calendar.
Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick question. Mr. Evans, has the city ever had a full-time grant writer? I'm very concerned about that. I know I keep asking, and I know you say different people.
Yep.
It already came up.
Yeah, but we have consultants that we use.
We
Contact them.
I need to see more grants
Yeah.
that we get, and that's all.
No, Madam Chair and members of the board, we do have a grants presentation as part of tomorrow, but we do have a grant, intergovernmental affairs and grant administrator position. Yes, we do. We do.
Right, but Madam Chair, can I just respond to that? There is no such thing as a grants writer really for a municipality, because each department has different needs, and each grant is different, it needs different expertise. So as the city manager said, you have an intergovernmental affairs person that you're going to bring on that basically coordinates that with private consultants and the department heads.
Okay, I just want to know who that is.
Very good. This meeting is adjourned.